So I hear that Megaman is a good video game, but it has a reputation for being a pretty hard precision platformer with shooting. However, the game gives you more options than just get good to make progress. You have power-ups. What is Iceman weak to? Fire. What is Fireman weak to? Ice. Big whoop-de-doo. But hey, that's good game design. If you have trouble in one place, you can earn an advantage by playing the rest of the game, by seeing what else the game has to offer. Also, Bloodborne is a pretty good game, and it has a reputation for being a pretty hard and demanding action game. However, thanks to sharing a cultural sentiment with the original Dark Souls marketing, Bloodborne does have a reputation for the game requiring you to just get good as a player in order to progress. Bloodborne doesn't hold your hand, it doesn't give you any other options. You just walk forward, you fight the enemy, you win or you die. And while that may be a little bit true, in actuality, it's entirely wrong. What if I told you that Bloodborne, despite having a reputation about unyielding difficulty, rewards exploration and patience with everything you need to mitigate early game challenges? Let's begin. Immediately after your first death, you choose your weapons, and immediately, the game is offering you huge damage bonuses so long as you make the correct choice. The Hunter's Saw Cleaver has the Serrated property, which increases all damage against beast-type enemies by 20%. The Threaded Cane also boasts the Serrated property, but is slower and wider than the Saw Cleaver, so I ultimately recommend the Saw Cleaver to be your first, even though the Big Axe Swing is very good. People also say that early Bloodborne is difficult because you can't start leveling up or get stronger until you can survive all the way to your first boss. This is because you must talk to the doll to level up, and the doll only activates once you get 1 insight. Insight is awarded for seeing and defeating bosses, but also from the item Madman's Knowledge. And there are 2 Madman's Knowledge items in Yharnam, one by these sewer rats and another by these oily crows. So if you need to farm blood echoes to increase your strength stat long before you ever encounter any boss, you can. Bloodborne also requires you to level up your weapon in order to stay competitive with the damage. This requires a resource called Bloodstone Shards. You need 3 to reach a level 1 Saw Cleaver, a total of 8 to reach +2, and 16 total to reach +3. This is also fairly easy to accomplish, as there are 10 Bloodstone Shards to be found around Central Yharnam, and if you're desperate enough, you can farm Bloodstone Shards from the werewolves on the bridge and the large huntsmen in the fishery warehouse or the upper sewers. From just this, we can already see that the game is rewarding exploration of the game's map with being essentially maxed out to your highest potential level, your highest potential offensive capability, long before you ever have to encounter the Cleric Beast or Father Gascoigne. You can obtain a +3 weapon, you can max out your strength stat and your dex stat to the soft cap of 25, or even further, and you can get a 20% damage bonus from the Serrated property. To be honest, Bloodborne is extremely generous with letting the player become overpowered in the early game, so long as the player expresses the patience to do so. Now, even if you defeat the Cleric Beast, Father Gascoigne is a pretty hard boss, yeah? But maybe not as hard as you think. For one, Gascoigne in all 3 phases is open to bullet parries, and wouldn't you know it, the Brick Trolls, the Large Huntsmen, and the Werewolves are all designed as enemies specifically to train the player to recognize and learn the timing for bullet parries. They wind up, they start the attack, and your bullet needs to hit on the downswing. Worried about running out of bullets? Also not a problem, because this wheelchair machine gun man is almost guaranteed to drop bullets for you. So you have a convenient farming site for a specific resource that you need, which is the specific weakness of the first mandatory boss, right next to a lantern. I hope I'm demonstrating that the design of Bloodborne is very specifically kind to the player, but if not, I'll keep going. On top of the parries, Gascoigne's 3rd form counts as a beast type, so we get our 20% damage boost back, and we can also talk to Gascoigne's daughter to get the music box, giving us a few instances of free hits on Father G to boot. Yeah, it still requires good execution, but the deck is definitely stacked in the player's favor. Moving on to the Cathedral Ward, our options have been opened wide. If you decide to head towards Old Yarnum first, we're being given 8 Molotov cocktails, 9 fire paper, and most importantly 16 antidotes to help deal with the blood-starved beast and its poison. The final big boss of the Cathedral Ward is Vicar Amelia, who signals the end of the first act of the game. Namely because the good Vicar has the ability to heal herself in the middle of battle, resulting in an almost infinite battle if the player isn't aggressive enough. Vicar Amelia is also where I gave up on Bloodborne, until years later where I have now become a Bloodborne expert. So let me teach you how exploration results in preparedness for Vicar Amelia. First, you actually do want to kill the blood-starved beast first. It may be somewhat intimidating to have to deal with constant poison, but for the most part, you're just going to want to heal, ignore using the antidotes, and use bullet parries to get through that boss as quickly as you can. Once you've killed the blood-starved beast, the path to the upper Cathedral Ward also opens, which in turn leads to a fire gemstone that you can obtain from descending that tower, going into the lower streets, and picking up a fire gemstone right behind this squiggly squid man, then running for your life. You're going to want to equip this gemstone to fight Vicar Amelia because she is quickly staggered by fire damage and can either be knocked out of or prevented from healing when staggered. The gemstone causes all of the damage on your weapon to be converted to fire, which is going to be extremely helpful. But I didn't make an arcane build, you cry. Doesn't matter. The 20% bonus damage against beasts is plenty to cover that. Yes, the serrated damage still applies even though you've changed your damage type to fire. Again, 20% bonus damage. But if you really need more fire damage, you can farm the fire gemstones by running the first Thumerian Chalice dungeon and defeating the watchdog of the old gods at the end, which you got from defeating the blood-starved beast. It's almost like they knew you would want to use a fire gem fighting Vicar Amelia, that they gave you 2 specific locations to go get some fire gems. Ah, but don't fight Vicar Amelia just yet. We have plenty of more exploring to do. Explore the Hemwick Charnel Lane to the left of the Grand Cathedral, and kill the Scuttle Buddies to the right of the Grand Cathedral, and everywhere else you can explore. Picking up the treasures in the Cathedral Ward and Hemwick Charnel Lane yields 20 twin Bloodstone Shards, and 7 more in the Hypogean Jail in Yahagul, way more than the 16 needed to reach a +6 Saw Cleaver. And after good ol' Amy is dead, take off that fire gemstone, and it's off to the Forbidden Woods to experience the second act of the game. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy, no more healing church to tease me. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor for this video, me, and the book that I wrote, Controller Revolution: Why Video Games Are the Future of Philosophy. Philosophy has always suffered being a niche hobby. Video games are the largest entertainment industry and the fastest growing entertainment sector. Yet, because the two share in their most defining characteristics, it can only be concluded that games and philosophy are destined to become more interwoven than any other media or field of study. Finding that hard to believe? You will be convinced by the end. The collision of a medium of art and a scholarly tradition naturally results in debates about the nature of art, how art conveys meaning, epistemology, and how people author their own meanings as an audience. The purpose of Controller Revolution is to draw the lovers of games and lovers of wisdom together in friendship. Thank you for taking a look at this delightfully weird little book. And remember, it's just a game. Okay, but to be serious for a moment, I know I'm taking on a cheeky tone for this video, but I can't help but feel that so much of the talk around Bloodborne is still about the difficulty, and in my opinion, the From Software games, even from Demon Souls, have always been about essentially rewarding exploration to give players exactly what they need to take on the challenge that's put in front of them. The challenge is really hard. You do have to have a lot of experience playing action games and a lot of patience to learn the new kind of mentality that goes into a Souls-like or a Bloodborne-like, action game. But the games are not unfair. They are extraordinarily fair, so long as you understand that part of the game's engagement actually is to explore their worlds and try to discover every little item in every nook and cranny you can look. The reason why so many Souls-like games just fail to capture the imagination, the heart, and the souls of the people who enjoy these games is because, in imitating, they don't understand this pillar. And this pillar of the design is what wraps everything together, is what takes a difficult and unfair experience and makes it a fair but difficult experience. I'm not going to argue that Bloodborne is a perfect game. It's been out so long that plenty of recognizable flaws have been identified, and a potential successor to Bloodborne, though it will never come, could definitely be identified. More weapon variety early on, an ability to use magic early on so that you know it's available. Things that didn't really fit thematically with the game, but would make for more of a video game, more arcadey type fun experience, which is what most of us fall into once we've already explored everything the game has to offer. This video is something like a haphazard guide, an open letter or an informational, if you will, to new players who are just getting into Bloodborne so many years later. Explore. The point is to explore the world and find everything you can. Farm up and get good and do all that stuff later, but you will get good as you explore. The skills will come. You just need to trust the struggle bus and use the options you've been presented. And before you know it, you will also have beaten Bloodborne and become officially #hardcore gamer girls. And really, isn't that what everybody wants? If you're interested in seeing another video like this, where I expose some of the little tidbits that the game has included in order to help the player defeat the next boss in further areas, make sure to let me know in the comments, and I'll consider making it. No promises though. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you next time. Stay true.